Good morning, everyone. How are you going? A little bit of a spanner in the works on Blue Abroad Nation this morning. We've got no Riley. He's had to pull out at the last minute, unbeknownst to him. Not his fault. So all good, Riley. So I've been madly trying to ring around and see if I can get someone else to come and host a show with me. No luck so far. It is a Saturday morning, so there's probably a few dusty Blue supporters out there, no doubt. But anyway, we'll see how we go. Now, just before I get started, just a reminder what Blue Abroad Nation is all about, ladies and gentlemen. We are a fan show. We're here for every Carlton supporter. It doesn't matter where you are in the world or in Australia. Having lived abroad myself, like Terry and many of the other people involved with the channel, I can tell you that the Carlton brand and the Carlton support reaches far and wide, a lot further than just Lygon Street and Royal Parade, I can tell you. So they are out there, and we're just trying to reach out to everybody. We got Carlton in the USA, we got Carlton in every state in Australia, supporter groups. So that's why we've decided to do this show on a Saturday morning to preview the previous week's game and review the upcoming game. And also just to talk about life as a Carlton supporter, no matter where you are from. And it's quite interesting when you go to the other states and cities. Here in the West, we have to put up with Eagles and Dockers supporters, and that's always an interesting topic. The Adelaide guys putting up with Port Adelaide supporters, that's just brutal. The Queensland guys, it doesn't matter who you are. Now, I've got to answer this call because this could be someone potentially co-hosting, and it is Mr. Vince Lotrasano. So this is great live stuff here. G'day, Vince. How you going? Okay, Vince. Now, mate, Riley Staraj, the great Riley, he's had to pull out at the last minute from my show. So I was ringing to see what you're doing from 10 a.m. till 11 a.m. and see if you want to jump in and join us. Mate, it's cast, it's live stream, and it's a lot of fun, and we're about to have a chat with Warren Jones. Yes, the wow. So what I'll do is I'm going to jump on to the messenger and I'm going to send you a link and we're going to bring you in. Yes, mate. Yeah. Yes, I do. So I'm going to go because there's a lot of pauses here. It's not great for live streaming, but I'm going to quickly go. And while I'm talking to everyone, I'm going to send you a link. Oh, mate, you're a champion. Thank you, Vince. See you, mate. I'm going to send you a link and you're going to click on that. And then it'll ask you to type in a nickname and enter the room. And then bang, you'll be in. Mate, I know this is on the spot. It makes Nora. I'll give you a few minutes, mate. I'll send you the link, and you just jump on as soon as you can. You're a legend. Thanks, mate. Bye. So there we go, folks. Now, while I'm talking, I'm going to sort out this link. We've got the one and only Vince Lotrasano. Now, just to let you know a little bit about Vince, Vince is a former president of the Carltonians Coterie Group, long-time president of the Carltonians Group. And he's raised a lot of money. He's done a lot of networking. He's done a lot for the Carlton Football Club over the years, and he's just a great guy to talk about Carlton with. So he reckons he's not presentable, so he's going to brush himself up, and then he's going to come on and co-host. So thank God for that. Now, while we're waiting, look, Wow's been waiting for ages on the stream, so I'm going to bring him in. Good morning, Wow. How you going, mate?
I'm great, thanks, John. Yourself?
Yeah, really, really good, mate. Sorry about the slight delay on there. We've had a slight spanner in the works with Riley at the very last minute having to pull out, so I've had no co-host. So unfortunately, I've only got one good side, so I couldn't go two-faced on here and make it work. But I've got the one and only Vince Lochisano about to jump on. Vince, as you may know, is a former president of the Carlton Coterie Group, a long-time president of the Carltonians, and he's done a lot for the club, and he's a great person to talk Carlton with and about. So he'll be jumping on in the tick to help me out. But meanwhile, I've got yourself, the great man, Warren Jones, on here, and we really appreciate your time, mate.
Oh, you're welcome. As I've said before, I love Carlton Footy Club. It's been great to me, and I've always been very well supported by our supporters. And I appreciate the opportunity to come on, and I suppose it's a way of saying thank you for the support I've had.
No worries, mate. We appreciate you on very much. Now, the reason I really wanted you on this week, why I asked you, invited you to come in, is we're playing Brisbane this week, and what we like to do on Blue Broad Nation is go across the states, try and locate past players from different states of origin and talk about their connections or their time with that state. So there are a couple of people I thought about. Brendan Favola was one, of course, because he travelled over to Brisbane after his inauspicious departure from Carlton. But it was probably not the brightest time in the history of his football career. So I'll let that one go. But I was really interested in your history and your journey, mate, because you're born in New Zealand, then you come over to Australia, you spent time in Queensland, and I believe sort of started your footy career and learnt the game at Morningside. You can correct me if I'm wrong about that. But, mate, just tell us a little bit about your journey, not just football, coming over from New Zealand, and then, yes, of course, how your journey began as a footballer.
Sure. Well, my journey started some years ago. I was born in New Zealand. I came across to Australia when I was about 3. Grew up in Melbourne and never had really an interest in football, other than a kick to kick in the playground at recess and so forth. I was a swimmer. I swam competitively for many years. And I never really played football until I was about 19. So I used to kick the ball around the park and all that sort of stuff. And because I was quite tall, a lot of clubs were sort of looking at me and saying, well, why don't you come and play football for us? And a couple of times I actually signed with teams. I never actually played for them. And the reason behind the signing was that the publican was usually the president of the football club. So I'd turn up at a pub and we'd have a bit of a chat. And he said, why don't you come down and play football with our club? And after a couple of candle lunches and a couple of jugs of beer, I'd actually put pen to paper. But I actually never played. And I eventually signed with a country football club called Castlemaine in the Bendigo League. And there I played for about 3 years. And we didn't get paid too much, and I wanted to go another level, so I ended up seeing an ad in the paper for footballers wanted in Queensland. So I applied, and they jumped at me, and I went in 1976 and played my first senior football with the Morningside Football Club, and from that I ended up playing a pretty good year. And actually made the state team. So because it was my first club or my first state playing senior football, I was eligible state of origin for Queensland. So I probably played a half a dozen games against Victoria and the Gabba, played in the carnival over in Perth against every state. And that was, I suppose, my connection with Queensland. I played a year and Carlton had been chasing me, and I went back to Victoria. Morningside cleared me back to Castlemaine, which was the Bendigo League, which then allowed me to go to Carlton to play. So that's sort of my background.
Yeah, nice one. That's interesting. It's something I haven't thought about that you just mentioned that's popped in my head with your games of state of origin and playing in carnivals and playing against WA. You were co-ruckman with the great Mike Fitzpatrick, of course. Now, he would have played a bit of state of origin for WA. Did you come across having to play against him in any of those games?
No, I didn't. At the time, I think Mike was a Rhodes Scholar, and he was studying in Oxford in the UK. So during that period, I think he was over there, and I think he started a bit later too. He was in Perth maybe at the time, but no, I didn't play against Mike.
All right. What about some other notable names from Queensland in the squads that you played?
There was only about 3 or 4 that actually played in the AFL. Barry Denny played for Melbourne. He actually played in Queensland. I think he might have actually played at my team. There was a couple of other. Their names escape me at the moment, but Dunstall, he played a couple of years after me. There was a guy at Collingwood. So there was probably a number of players, more so later, in 77, 78, 79. A lot of the guys that played AFL from Queensland probably came through that, during that period of time.
Yeah, nice one. Now, so you make your way over to Carlton, and obviously a pretty incredible squad and a very driven group. Very much a group that were very accountable to each other on the track, that wanted success. If you let the team down, you're sort of on the outer at Carlton back in those days. What was it like being in such a devoted and driven group of people?
It was pretty amazing. I think the first AFL game I actually saw live, I played in. So, as far as a football background, I really had none. My first, it was a reserve game, but it was the first actual AFL game I'd ever seen, and I actually played in it. So to turn up at a football club, you don't appreciate, how big it's going to be. So you walk in the door and, there's Jezza and, Robert Walls and, Bruce Dool and all these sort of guys there. Pretty amazing to be in the same space as they are. So it was quite intimidating. I used to train. I trained pretty well, prepared myself for footy and probably overdid the training. Arriving at Carlton, you realise how far behind you are in the fitness stakes. So it was pretty scary. You'd run around the tan track once and you'd say, God, that was hard, but I suppose that's probably it for the night. And then we'd go back the other way and then go back the other way and then, do 200 metres sprints up the Anderson Street Hill there, if you're familiar with that. Just unbelievable. It was so tough to actually do it. And it was, I suppose, a test of your character. And they had a pretty good side in those days. I'm talking in 1977 was the first year I played at Carlton. And, the talent they had was pretty enormous. I think at that point in time, they, on the back of a couple of premierships in the early 70s, a team of champions that were sort of not performing as probably as good as they should have been. And I think it wasn't until Jezza took over as coach that he said, we've got an enormous talent here. We should be playing in premierships. And the first thing he did was toughened us up. He felt that we're a team of champions that were a bit soft and just going through the motions. And he also felt that we weren't fit enough. So he really pushed the pedal to the metal. We trained probably 20% above any other team in the competition. So once, 78 and 79, we were well prepared for, what ended up happening is, us winning the 79 grand final because of what Jezza did as the coach in preparing us the right way.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to ask you another question about the great Mike Fitzpatrick and your partnership with him, particularly in '82 and the '82 premiership as well. Before I do, I've just entered the great man Rocco into the group. Rocco's a host of a show called The Jumper Punch. He's jumped on to help me out. He obviously got the SOS that Riley's had to bail this morning. So good morning, Rocco. How you going, mate?
How are you, John? And how are you, Warren? How are things?
I'm great.
I'm great. Yeah, Yes. Yeah, I got the call, John. No worries, mate. That's what we do at Blue Abroad here. We help each other out, so no drama. Yeah, and then when I saw the great Whale Jones here, man, have to get on. Yeah, I've spoken to people like Wayne Harms and that. And you're from my time, mate. You're from my time. 79, 82, that's when Carlton was great, and all they thought about was winning, you know. So yeah, it's great to chat with you, mate.
Yeah, we're even greater in 82.
Yeah, 82. That's it. 82. I remember 82. I definitely remember 82. I think everyone remembers 82 for that one reason. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that you mentioned that we're all from our time, Rocco. And I'm having a look at the screen at the moment. I'm seeing two big nude nuts there, and I'm looking at my beautiful shock of hair. And I'm very, very happy to have everyone together on the screen at the moment. I'm very fortunate. I'm a very fortunate old fart.
This is the way to go, mate. This is the way to go.
So, look, wow. Yeah, I mean, it must have just been put here through coaches, especially in 82, such a great year for you personally. But at that time, you know, having someone like Mike Fitzpatrick, great leader, fantastic ruckman, all-round great player, and Rhodes Scholar on the field and off the field. But then back in those days, the second ruckman really was the backup ruckman who would sit on the bench for a long period of time and then be able to come on fresh and have a real impact on the game. And having someone like yourself there who would have been the first ruckman for most of the other teams in the comp, it really, they didn't stand a chance, did they? I know Richmond were big favourites, you know, especially with Big Lee and Clokey there and everything that they had going for them. But I think we're a little bit underrated. I'm not sure why exactly Richmond were such big favourites. I know they had a great year and they had Morris, but, mate, you didn't mind a snag either, something we don't see Ruckman do very well nowadays. What was the combination and the symmetry like with you and Mike? And then when you had to come into the team and Mike had a rest, the symmetry that you had to create on the spot with the rest of the team, was that something that you trained hard on during the week?
There's a number of questions there, John.
I'm doing that again, yeah.
Yeah, Fitzy was a great guy, great captain, very, for the big games, he was outstanding, but he was one of the smartest blokes I've ever met. I reckon he knew the name of the unknown soldier, and I reckon he also knew the name of the guy that shot him. He knew that much. Interesting time. Mike Fitzpatrick was captain, so his favourite position was playing in the ruck. So regardless of how well I'm playing, he would go to the match committee meeting and he'd say to Parkin or whoever the coach was and say, well, is Wow in? And they would say, yes, he is. And he'd say, well, this is going to be a long night, isn't it? So he'd argue his case and wear them down, and I'd end up playing in the forward pocket as opposed to playing in the ruck. So that, and I would do the same thing if I was captain. I'd be pushing my own barrow. He loved playing in the ruck, and I was a reasonably handy player, but I had to play as a second fiddle, not because the match committee thought that I wasn't as good as Mike, but because Mike was on the selection committee, it gave him somewhat of an advantage over me. But most of my career, when Mike and I played together in the same side, we would basically change in the forward pocket. So we very rarely would sort of come off the bench and play the ruck game like that, one on the bench and one on, and then change on the bench. We'd be utilised down in the forward line, where it was a bit easier in those days. You didn't have to run the length of the ground for the duration of a game. You basically stood up against the goalpost, leaned up against it, and just waited for the ball to come down. So, the game's changed a lot since then.
Yeah. Now, Rocco, I'm just going to pop you out for a second and bring you back in. I just want to bring Vince Loccisano in for a little bit before we let Warren go. Vince, obviously, again, I'll just introduce him, former president of the Carltonians, the Carlton Coterie Group, for many years. Fantastic supporter, has done a lot for the club over the years, and he's a bit like Tony DeBolfo. He knows what Sophie Valance had for breakfast in 1813 or whatever. So we'll bring in Vince.
What an introduction that was.
There you go, mate. So what was Sophie having for breakfast in 1813 or bloody 1913? I don't know.
Well, I'd say
Good on you,
probably
Vince.
porridge.
Good to see you, Vince.
You too. Well, it's great to catch up with you, mate. It was at the Life Members Luncheon about a month ago. I saw you last.
Yes, we were. I mean, you're a great man, Vince. You've done a lot for the club and the Coterie Group. Congratulations on a great tenure there, and I've always been made very welcome by that Coterie Group.
Thanks, mate. No, you're always welcome. You're one of the champions of the club, and we do try to accommodate the past players as much as we can in Coterie groups like that. So, no, it's all good and great to see you out and about.
Thank you.
All right, gentlemen. Now, enough. Now we've finished with the loving, gentlemen. Let's move on to Vince.
I can't believe I got a phone call about an hour ago offering me to come onto this show.
Vince always travels over to Perth whenever Carlton come over here, and he does the options for us at the pre-match functions. He's just mate, talk about devoted. Loves his club. Good on you, Vinny. Yeah, good on you, Jonesy. Chucking that on, mate. Thank you. Now we've got to get to the predictions, mate. Just quickly, your take on what's going on with the club and the team in particular. Let's focus on the footy, I think, and your prediction for the big game against Brisbane this week.
Do you want me to start, John?
Yes, mate.
So, it's been a difficult week, I suppose. Mark McClure's come out and made some comments, and I think some of his assessment is fair. I think that there needs to be, from a collective group, a lot more pulling together. There's some underperforming players in the team that need to stand up. I'm coming from a period where we had a lot of success and we had the right culture and so forth. I think the team itself, everyone's really needs to lift, commit to each other, and just play a bit harder, a bit more desperate. I think one of the key metrics is tackles. We used to have about 80 a game. If we had more than 60, we'd win a game, and we've been getting about 40 each week, which tells me that there's not quite the intensity that is required in a team to get across the line. We're 4 or 5 games in, and we've got to now win games to keep in touch with the 8 if we want to play finals. That's where we should be. So now's time, on the back of what Sellers has said, to take it as a bit of a rocket and commit and prove to the supporters that they are going to go on and become the team that they should be. So my prediction is that they'll get across the line against Brisbane. I think that they will take on board what Sellers has said as a motivator and work harder and get the result for not just themselves but also the supporters of our great club.
Nice work. That's a Dan Williams level assessment there. Thanks very much for that. Wow. Vince, quick take on that from your side of things, mate. We won't dwell on the Port Adelaide game. Let's move forward and how are we going to go against Brizzy, mate?
Yeah, look, I think Wow just stole my thunder a little bit. I think the players, when they're under such a spotlight in the media during the week, they tend to come out breathing fire the following week to try and prove themselves. And we did beat Brisbane on this ground 2 years ago when Teague took over from Bolton, and it was his first game as senior coach. And we rolled them. And I don't see any reason why we can't do it again if the players play up to their potential.
Yeah, well, that honeymoon is definitely over, but it's a big challenge this week, different set of circumstances. Yeah. Big job for Teague and the assistants to get the boys up and get them playing the way they should. And I like what Wow touched on there regarding the tackles. I mean, when we were struggling a couple of years ago, one of the things we were doing really well were pressure acts and tackling, and for some reason that's dropped off. So, again, other people need to stand up around Cripper and the guys that are in there week in, week out, putting their body on the line and do the same as a collective. So, yeah, look, I'll leave it at that. We've got other people to bring in. It's been a great start to the show. Wow, thanks very much. We really appreciate you coming on. This could become a regular thing, the Wow Factor, mate. I might have to sign you up, I reckon.
Yeah, I've had a couple of job opportunities the last few months. I had a guy from GWS asking me if I wanted to get involved down there. I said, well, you know, I don't mind coming down there, but I haven't played for 40 years. I could be a bit rusty.
Well, I reckon you'd be just as able a backup ruckman as the great Levi, mate. So I'll just leave that there.
Great.
All right, mate. Thanks again. You're an absolute champion. And his brother's actually a St Kilda supporter, so he's watching the show and he'll be really enjoying seeing you on there, as many people will.
Both teams covered there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, mate, thanks again. Champion of the club, champion bloke. Really appreciate your time, and we'll do it again soon, I reckon.
You're welcome, and go Blues.
All right, thanks, mate. See you next time.
Cheers. See you guys.
All right, we'll bring Rocco back in. That was the great Warren Wow Jones. Sorry you didn't get much wow time there, Rocco, but welcome to the show,
all right,
mate. Thanks for coming in. How about?
No worries, mate. Anytime, man. It was just good enough to be on the same screen as that man. As I said, he was a champion. I don't think he got the accolades he should have got, you know, and he played at the wrong time because they had like Mike Fitzpatrick, and then he had glandular fever, I think, and he was out for about a year, and then big Justin Madden came along, and then he just didn't get his chance, you know. So
yeah. Well, Justin sort of squeezed him out in a way. He was an emerging talent, a fantastic talent. And so, you know, he made the best decision for him at the time. It's a big offer from St Kilda. And you know what? He became a much loved cult figure at St Kilda as well. And you mentioned his name around that club. It's, they love the great man. And, you know, it's back then, it was the deeds on the field that made you who you were.
Exactly.
And that was a big imprint that was left on the supporters. And you know, back in the early 80s, you know, I was born in 72, so I come through that era where I started following Carlton when I was 7 years old at 79. Perth boy. People didn't know why I cared, but I did.
Good time.
But you know, my heroes. Kenny Hunter was my hero. He was in my mind still the most courageous player who've ever played the game. Perth boy. But then you had guys like Dooley, Wow Jones, David Rees-Jones. But Wow was in the early 80s, he was the guy with all the tats, you know. And back then, tattoos weren't just like shell and peas like all these bloody millennials nowadays, you know. So you had the tattoos, you're a badass, you know. So
that's right.
Wow Jones running around the footy field with tattoos. There are people like my dad going, "There's a fucking thug," all of that stuff, right? But one of the most lovely guys you would ever speak to, as you can see. But what his deeds on the field were great. He was iconic because of the tats and his presence, but he gave it 110% on the field, and that's the indelible imprint that he left on everybody, whether it was at Carlton or the Saints. So it was fantastic to have him on today. Yeah,
as I said, he was a great player. He only played like 82 games, you know, but he's remembered. So what does that say about a man, you know? So few games, but still remembered as one of the greats. So that says a lot about someone.
Probably says he was either a fantastic footballer or very unattractive.
Did you talk about the big W's? That he keeps saying he hasn't got them, but I don't know.
I didn't go there.
No.
I would have liked more time.
Yeah, next
Maybe
time.
I'll
Next
send him
time.
a Grolsch over and I won't get it out of him.
Exactly.
I tell you what, there's nothing better than finishing night shift, coming home and cracking a Grolsch at 8 a.m. Perth time and then doing this show, especially when your co-host can't show up. You know, it does take a little bit of the stress off.
That's it. You must feel better now. You feel better now. You got some great men on now.
I do. Now, speaking of great men on, and I'm going to throw this one to Vince. Yes, we got the big game on. Oh, where's he gone? Vince has dropped out.
You've lost him.
It's just me and you, Rocco.
All right, tell me. Let's go.
Yeah, Vince does tend to just waffle on like a dossity old man sometimes. Oh, no, he's back. Hang on. He's making a comeback. He's making a comeback. Oh, mate, it wasn't me, I swear.
Now, cut me off. What's going on?
We cut me off.
Anyway, I'm back in, am I?
Well, we've sewed you back on, mate, and we've got to talk about today. We've got to have the serious conversation, guys. So, Stocker in.
I love that.
That's a tick, obviously.
Stocker playing is fantastic.
That is a big tick, and Cunningham as well. I feel is a tick.
Yeah.
I think that gives us grunt and pace, and a little bit of polish with Cunningham. When it comes to forward entries, we're hoping we know what he can do there.
If you remember, Johnny, we interviewed Liam Stocker when I was over in Perth.
That wasn't fantastic.
Nearly 2 years ago, and he was just about ready to come back from injury then.
Yeah, and that was one of the fantastic interviews. And one of the things that stood out about that interview with Liam Stocker, and I know a lot of people will relate to this with his reputation on the field, is there was a question asked about the white line fever with him. And he bit hard. He bit hard at that question. I asked the question. He bit hard at me in regards to he plays fair, head over the ball.
Yeah.
He works hard at his craft during the week. It was a while ago now, Vince, but I remember it was a very measured response, but very passionate and very very matter of fact.
I have a lot of faith in this kid. I have a lot of faith in him.
So
it'll come good.
It's good to see him get a crack. I mean, I know it was only against the blind school with the 38 touches, but and I think they took the bell out of the ball. But look,
don't underestimate what he did last week. The workload he put in last week was fantastic.
Yeah, and you still, no matter what opposition's in front of you, you still got to devote yourself and go out there and do it. So to go out there, get 38 touches, so many contested possessions, so many tackles, a goal. You know, he's had a few good weeks in a row. He's earned his spot, and I think that's a big thing for us. He's earned his spot.
Yeah, he has. It hasn't just been given to him on a platter. He's earned it, and I really look forward to seeing him play. If I was to have an opportunity to advise Teague and the selection committee, I'd be saying play someone like him for a good month. Give him 4 games in a row and see what he can produce, because it's the continuity that these guys need, and they don't need the pressure of knowing that they've got to get 25 touches to justify their position next week. Let him go out and do what he does best for 4 weeks in a row, and then assess him over a block of time. Give him a proper opportunity to perform.
Yeah. Interestingly, we gave Dow a month, and he didn't.
And he hasn't measured up.
He couldn't get into it at all. Under 10 possessions or 30 possessions, and a lot of those possessions were coming in junk time in the last quarter. Something's wrong there. He's been in the system a long time, and geez, I hope it turns around, because we have seen the talent when he burst onto the scene and cracked it into the senior side. His pre-season form, his form in the twos and that. But when he comes up to, we're requiring some consistency, and at least a 20 possession game.
Well, it was
with some
interesting to
quality
hear
about it.
Matthew Lloyd.
Where is it? Where's he at?
On Footy Classified during the week, make comment about Paddy Dow, and he just says he's not a hard gut runner, and he just hasn't got the engine to run a full game and play in the midfield. So
No.
you know, these guys have to either become good enough from a stamina point of view to just keep gut running right through a game and get their 20 to 30 possessions, or otherwise, if they're going to play midfield and only end up with 10, they'll end up in the twos like Will Setterfield is at the moment.
Yeah, instead of bringing in people like bloody John Worsfold, maybe we should be bringing in people like Robert De Castella and these sort of guys, mate. Get them out there, putting in the big Ks, you know, and under duress. Rocco, I'm going to put this one to you, mate. We Williamson, Kennedy. We just mentioned Dow. They're the omissions. Dow was the medical sub last week, obviously. Willow and Kennedy. Look, where are they at? I was sort of disappointed that Willow got dropped. I would have liked to see him get the same opportunity as Dow, give him a block of 4 games back in the team. But they've really had to jump and just say, hey, you know, you got dropped because you lack of form, and you played a good game in the twos. You come back in, you did nothing. You're nervous. You're making weird errors with the ball in your hand. Weird decisions. So they still he's still a kid. You know, this is the thing we should be doing with senior players if they're not performing. In my honest view, doesn't matter how many games you've played. And I'm not referring to Mark Murphy. I know a lot of people are still banging on about him, but anyone in that team that's a senior player's played 100 games or around that or more, that's not performing, you know, drop them after a couple of games. With the kids, give them a string. Give them a string of games. But look, I want to know your take on it, and Kennedy as well. Where's Kennedy at?
This is the problem with people like Kennedy and Setterfield. I don't know what's gone on this year, because if you look at Setterfield, he was the most improved player last year. So I don't know what's happened this year. I think they're moving him around a little bit, as kind of like played with his head a little bit. Kennedy I don't get, because he's built like a footballer. He's got all the attributes and he just can't do it. He just can't do it. So to me, there's something wrong in his head, because he can do it for one game and he just can't back it up. So I don't know, man. This is up to them to work out what their problem is. Why can't they do what they do on a consistent basis? The problem is that playing people like Williamson and then dropping them is the team's under pressure. Teague's under pressure here. If this was another side, they could give him 2 or 3 or 4 games to get, but they just can't afford it. And you know, like the drum beats were banging this week with Stocker. They had to put him in, or else it would have been upheaval, you know. And Williamson was the one who was going to cop it, you know. There's no chance they're going to give him 4 weeks. We're under pressure. In 2 weeks' time, if we lose our next 2 games, we're in strife, and the club is going to be in an uproar. And this is the problem with our side. We can't give these kids too much time, because the pressure is huge on this club. Huge, mate.
Yeah. And look, Kennedy was brought in as a inside midfielder bull to help Cripper out. Then they've tried to play him as a high half forward because he's good overhead. He obviously hasn't worked out as a midfielder we were expected. So a decision has to be made, doesn't it? Like, we brought him in for a specific role. He hasn't been able to crack it as that. But this is where it gets confusing with me. And you mentioned Setterfield. So Setterfield was performing very well in that role and strong in the contest and long in the arms, able to get those arms out and get that handball out like Cripper does as well. Loved him in there. So, and you can have two, no more than 2, because you still need your outside, you need your pace. You can't just fill it with inside mids. But Cripper does need that help. Paddy Dow was supposed to be that sort of inside, sort of strong player, burst player. He's not a gut rusher like we talked about before. He can burst out of the packs, out of the tackles. That hasn't worked out. So why not just say to setters, you know, this is This is what. Where's Greg Williams? See, we got rid of Greg Williams. This is a big one. We got rid of Diesel because of the COVID and the soft cap and everything else. I reckon we're missing him. I reckon we haven't got that. I reckon if he was there, he'd be telling the coaching hierarchy now, this is what we need to do with these guys. He's got those insights. I'll throw that over to you, Vince. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, look, I think they've diverted. I mentioned earlier about when Teague first took control of the club as coach. And I think what he did that was successful in the second half of 2019, after I think we only won one game in the first 11 rounds, I think he then went on to coach us to another 6 wins for the season, is he played the players in their best positions, where they play their best football. And I think he's diverted from that in the last, probably the last half a season, including the first 5 games of this season. I mean, I just don't think that Sam Petreski-Seaton, for example, is a defender. So let's see if he can play midfield. I very much doubt that Zach Williams, we talked about engines and we talked about whether a player can run out a game in the midfield and get his 30 possessions. I doubt very much whether he's got the tank to play midfield. He's a half-back flanker. That's all he ever was at GWS. And we've recruited him on the basis that he's going to be turned into some gun midfielder who's going to get 30 possessions a game and be worth, $800,000 a year. I don't see it. I haven't seen it yet, put it that way. And I reckon that if they play Mark Murphy in the half-forward flank anymore, they're going to really regret that. He should be either playing in the middle or not at all. He's either good enough to play in the midfield or don't play him. But I think they're nursing him to 300 games, and I don't like it. I don't like where they're playing him. It's not working. Petreski-Seaton in defence is not working. Setterfield, you're right. They've swung him everywhere, and in the end, he's lost all form. And I think when you tinker with the edges like this too much, you come to pay the price. And in the first 5 weeks, I don't see our team being settled at all. And even someone like Casbolt, when he lost all form a couple of years ago, what did they do? They played him at centre-half back, and all of a sudden, he grew a leg. He took marks everywhere. He was not required to shoot for goal. So what happened? He got his confidence back. All of a sudden, they've gone back to putting him up in the forward line again. Well, McGovern's back now. Put McGovern up forward and Casbolt back at centre-half back. You'll see a big difference in Casbolt. Play them where they play their best football. That would be my advice.
Yeah, I think we'll all universally agree with you there. Now, Vince, before I move on to McGovern, I just want to say, mate, I think Sam Pang's in trouble. I'm really enjoying driving with Vince Colosimo. Vince Lochisano. Sorry, I better have another drink.
I'll be happy to take you as my first passenger, Johnny, when I go over to Perth.
Oh, mate.
Really?
Done.
Why don't we do that?
Let's do it.
We'll do an episode again of Blue Abroad Nation, and we'll do it in a car.
Can we do it in the back of one of those party buses with the poles for pole dancing? Can we do it in the back of those?
Now, I don't know anything about that, but I got a feeling that you do.
Yeah, something with velvet seats. Something classy.
Yeah,
I love it.
Straight from Northbridge to you.
Good times.
It was,
okay.
We've had some good times in Perth over the years.
Oh, yes, we have,
We'll have
mate.
to get you dressed up in your leprechaun outfit.
I had to. I actually had to throw out the leprechaun outfit because Zach Tui went to Geelong, and the leprechaun outfit was getting just a little bit manky, mate. So.
Hey, Rocco, have you seen the great man in his leprechaun outfit?
Who's that? Oh, geez. Sorry, you froze up. I missed all of that.
I asked Rocco if he's ever seen you in the leprechaun outfit.
No, I was going to say, man, like, what are you doing? You should be doing the show in this leprechaun outfit. What's going on, mate?
Rocco, I've been on the...
Remember when we had Kieran Byrne and Zach Tui and... I'm trying to think of who it was.
Oh, Halford? Was it Satara O'Halfram, wasn't it?
It was actually
Satana,
after
yeah.
Satana had retired. I think we had 3 at the time. I remember Kieran, the other Kieran Sheehan.
That's right.
Kieran Sheehan.
And
Sheeran,
Johnny
that's
get
it.
into the spirit of it and put his leprechaun outfit on and become
And-
the Joffa of Carlton in Western Australia.
And I had a bloody good record with that leprechaun outfit. Talk about my pot of gold, mate, and me lucky charms, because we regularly won against Freo over here whenever I wore that one to the games with the cheer squad. And I brought it over to Melbourne with me when Carlton played Hawthorn in the anniversary of the 87 premiership year in 2017. And I got the ground pass, and I got changed into the leprechaun outfit with one of the big bound by blue flags, and went on to the Etihad wearing the leprechaun outfit. Went over to and they had the 87 team, our squad, including a guy who didn't actually play that day in the premiership. I was in the squad, Brad Shine, Swan Districts boy. And
I
I'm a
remember
Swan
Brad.
Districts boy. Brad, and I remember going up to Brad Shine, Stephen Kernahan, and I've met all of these guys multiple times, but they had no fucking idea who the leprechaun was. I was just some weird guy dressed as a frigging leprechaun on the ground with a flag, running after these guys, chasing them around, saying g'day. And I went over. Cameron Ling was doing an interview with one of them, and here I am on Etihad. I may have had a few breakfast beers just before I go on, but anyway, so I've gone up to Cameron Ling and tried to plant one on his cheek. Now, if anyone knows me, they know my feelings about smelly red boxes, right? Now, Cameron Ling is the biggest fan of pants running around, right? Now, I've gone up and tried to plant one on his cheek, and I've got the big red beard and all of that as well. He didn't want to know about it, but I've got a feeling we're digressing from football here, so we might just forget about my breakfast beer bloody antics and get back to the big game. Now, I'm going to throw it out to both of you guys. Whichever one of you want to jump in first, you're welcome. But Carlton Brisbane, how's this going to pan out today? I reckon there's a lot of pressure on our group today to come out after last week, and I don't know if that's going to work in our favour or not. Brisbane are a very professional outfit. They're very driven. They haven't had the greatest start that they were expecting either, both on 2 and 3. Big game for both clubs, but it's our home game. Does that put more pressure on us? How's it going to pan out? What's going to happen today?
I'll let you go first, Rocco.
All right, I'll go first. Look, they have to respond today. And everyone's been saying they have to respond. They do. They have to respond here, but are they going to win? I always think they're going to win, and I always hope they're going to win. But it's looking. I don't think it's looking too good. They didn't show me anything in the last month, really. I mean, they showed a little bit against Gold Coast and Fremantle, but they haven't shown me anything. It's all up. It's all up here. And have they got that mental strength? They're bringing in Stocker. There's going to be a lot of pressure on this kid. Everyone's waiting for Stocker to come in. He's not going to win you a game. He's not going to win you the game. And Cunningham's had heaps of chances. I hope he gets out there and gets 25 and kicks 2 goals. How many times has he done that? So, to me, it's going to be tough today, man. It's going to be tough. I mean, let's expect not the best result today. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's a very, very realistic view. I mean, it is a little bit pessimistic, but it's hard to argue with any other stuff. And literally, it'll take a big turnaround. We need a big turnaround in attitude, psyche.
They have to run and chase. What they didn't do last week, the way they played last week, really was disgraceful. You think about it, man. Their efforts were disgraceful last week. Man, they just gave up. There were times when players just given up. I was embarrassed at the ground. There were times when McGovern and Casbolt just gave up. SBS, they just gave up. They can't do that. They cannot do that, man. A team like Brisbane will go 100% for 100% of the time. And if they're not careful, they will get found out big time today. So it has to be like 120% turnaround today. Can they do that? I hope they do. I love this team, and I hope they go out and they smash them. I hope they absolutely smash them. But there's no fight. You know, what happened with that bit about, did you see when the Ruckman Pitts was on the ground having a bit of a wrestle there for like 90 seconds? Who went in and helped? You know, this is an attitude they have to change. I hope they do. But, man, look, I'm going to be burying for them flat out. Let's hope they do it, yeah?
Yeah. Look, I think the skills that have been so bad, that's a confidence thing. I think if you come out, we need to come out not acting. I'm sorry, this is going to upset a few people. I hope there's no one from the club watching, but you know what? I hope that the team comes out not acting like pussies today. You know, like we're going to come out hard. We're going to come out like we want to kill every Brisbane player. Like we're going to war out there. And once you start smelling defeat and fear in your opposition, watch the skills by hand and foot on the burst. With everything you do, improve. It's confidence. And if you're 100%. Playing like a pussy, I'm sorry, but the confidence gets you, and you're the one getting defeated and belted and humiliated, and your own supporters giving you shit. It's horrible, and the energy levels drop, and then you see stuff in the last quarter like SPS just hanging around the outskirt of a contested situation, waiting for the ball to bobble his way, and then him only being 2 meters away from a player and not bothering to trace that player when he bursts away for the opposition with the ball. That's what I'm saying. It's a complete lack of energy. It's deflation. They're flat. Carlton, you have to go out there today and not be pussies. You got to be hard. That's the only way they're going to get their confidence.
Can I just add to that, Johnny?
Oh, mate.
Sorry, what's that, John? Yeah, look, I agree with everything you've said there. What was evident last week is that behaviour is contagious. And all you need is a few players to drop off, not chase, not tackle, let the opposition run right through you, and it starts to filter right through the team. What they've got to come out with today, and I believe they will, is a real thirst for the contest and a hunger for the ball, and to show effort like they haven't shown yet this year. Even in our 2 wins against Fremantle and Gold Coast, I never thought that we were in overdrive. We were still only in sort of second, third gear some of the time. We've got to play a 4 quarters game today to beat Brisbane. They were a top 4 team last year. I think things have changed a little this year. I don't quite see them up in the top 4 as much. I think they're still potentially a top 8 team, maybe even top 6. I don't quite see them being top 4 now. But nevertheless, they're a better team. They have already achieved a lot more than we have since we were both around about the same position on the ladder some 4 or 5 years ago. So they've certainly progressed and we haven't. But I think that if our players go out there today as a collective and all feed off each other's attitude and thirst for the contest, I think we can knock them over. I've seen it before. And I think most teams in the AFL, when they play like that, they can beat the opposition, doesn't matter who they are. There's not too many teams that you'd say, if they were playing at their very, very best, couldn't knock over anyone else on the ladder. Maybe North Melbourne's struggling a bit at the moment in that regard, but there's not too many teams that couldn't cause an upset in today's day and age.
True that. And it wouldn't be that much of an upset. It's our home game. We're both 2 and 3.
Well, that's the other thing. I think the crowd will help. Today, the crowd will get behind them. If they see that the players are running hard, tackling, chasing, holding the ball decisions, they'll feed off that. And I think that becomes contagious. And I think that's what we have to do today for 4 quarters.
4 quarters. And if we come out, we burst out there from the start and do that and get the crowd up and about,
Yeah.
and then go through one of our typical periods where we give away 3 to 5 goals and look flat.
That's
That
gotta
deflates
stop.
everything. That undoes all that good work. It undoes all of that momentum. We can't allow that to happen. It has to be a 4-quarter. The Freo game I thought was a. Geez, I'll tell you what. Even the Richmond game. Let's go to that. Okay. Let's. I know it's a typical bloody Richmond 24-point loss that we have every year,
You
but
could argue that the Richmond game was possibly our best game for the year so far.
oh, absolutely. It was 5 to 7 minutes, about 7 minutes in that last quarter where we just fitness. They ran over us. They're a professional outfit. We're not at that level yet, but I tell you what, up until that point, it was more than just a solid 4-quarter effort. It was like they're here. They're challenging the top, the premiers, the team that have won 3 out of the last 4 cups. We're challenging them, and we're looking like we're going to just get over the line with them. We got momentum, but then we fell away, and it really did just like fitness. But that should have given us a lot of confidence. But then we did this round 2 thing that we do every fucking year as well.
Well,
we didn't follow it up. It was
how many years in a row we had the first 2 losses of the year? I think it's frustrating. Something like 7 or 8 years in a row, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you are right, Vince.
There are a few.
No, I was going to say you were spot on, mate, about your analysis on the Blues, man. Like, don't tell me that we can't beat any side in that competition. So what is it, man? It's all up in your head, man.
It's
like,
up here.
What is going on with this club, mate? Seriously, man. You've got one opportunity in life, man. All we ask is that when you get out there for those 2 hours, man, don't leave nothing out on the ground, man. And if you can do that, because don't tell me that Dow, I'll give you an example. Don't tell me that Dow isn't as skillful as Walsh. So why is Walsh so good? Because while Dow is having his cocktails during his pre-season, Dow's out there breaking his backside trying to get better. So what's wrong with these players? I'm telling you, man, they're not giving it 100%, man, and they don't get it. If they're not careful, in a couple of years, man, they'll be selling fries at McDonald's, So
well, there's nowhere to hide today. They've been in the media.
I won't be asking for the special sauce here, Rocco.
Well, there's no way to hide today. They've been under the media spotlight, and if there's any pride left in these players, in their performance, if they value their reputations, if they value how people perceive them as footballers, they'll go out and try and prove themselves today. And I really expect a 4-quarter effort win. And you know what? Carlton supporters are like any others. If they can see that there's a 4-quarter effort and the guys are absolutely busting their ass to try and win, whether we win, lose or draw, they'll still be happy with that because they'll see that there's a genuine effort there for 4 quarters.
100%, man, 100%. That's all we expect from them.
That's all we want to see.
Guys, we're just going to quickly jump in there.
There's another team that's got more skill, taller players, better goal kickers, whatever. Sure, we might need to work on our skills, but if we see that the effort's there, well, that's 3/4 of it fixed.
Yeah. Now, I'm just going to quickly jump in. Quick shout out. This is a pretty awesome one. I'm just popping on the screen now from Ramiro Pereira Maya. Portuguese, love my Blues. I live in Australia in the Northern Territory. As soon as I caught on Aussie Rules football in '85, it was the Blues I fascinated in because of that unique CFC monogram and my favourite colour, navy blue. Love the Blues since. And guess what, Ramiro? That's why I started following them, mate. I was 7 years old watching it on the TV and thought, how cool do these guys look compared to everyone else? And then Wayne Harms knocked the ball in from row 3 and we won the grand final against Collingwood. And my old man, absolutely, who's a Swan Districts WA football man, didn't really follow any team in the VFL. We used to watch the winners back then and all of that and loved watching it every now and then. But the camera panned out to the crowd and showed grown men crying, Collingwood fans. And my dad, I'm not going to repeat what he said because it's all politically incorrect nowadays, but it's basically given it to those grown men that were crying. And, my dad was a hard man to connect with. So from that point on, I'm raising my fists and my brothers lying on the carpet watching it with me, and we've both got our fists and saying, yeah, they're a bunch of bloody blah, blah, blah. And then Mum comes into the house and goes, oh, shouting at me dad. because he's made us say bad words as well. And then I was a Carlton person for the rest of my life. That simple little thing, that simple little connection. And let's face it, we still have the coolest goddamn jumpers, the coolest brand of any club in the world, as far as I'm concerned. So, Ramiro, good on you, mate. We're so glad that a solid Portuguese man. I'm going to have to come up to the Northern Territory and have some barbecue chicken with you, my Portuguese friend, I think. But thank you for jumping on with your comment there. And feel free to jump on if you ever see the show on another Saturday morning and have a chat. We'd love to chat with you. Jump on now, mate. I'll get you in. I'm just going to put the link up in the comments. Ramiro, if you're still with us, we want to talk to you. I want to talk about Portuguese chicken. Now, we've got Robbie Galluccio. He's jumped on there as well to say g'day. So well done to Rob. And everyone that commented. Now,
big shout out to Michaela down in Tasmania. I think she's watching and listening as well.
Absolutely, she is. So, yes, Michaela, thanks for jumping on.
Yep.
Now, Nick as well. Nick's been very active there in the comments. Nick, here we go. Here we go. Old Bogan is going to try and say an ethnic surname. Here we go. Nick Keskanidis. I think I nailed it.
Why don't you leave the WOG surnames to me, Johnny? I'm pretty good at all that.
That's it.
That's Rob Gallicchio. And who was the other comment from?
Gallicchio.
Nick Keskanidis. Nick Keskanidis. Now, Vince, you can't say WOG on live streams, you old whoppo.
I can, because I am one.
No, WOGs can say WOGs, mate. Vince, wait, we can say WOGs. It's all right to say WOG. It's just the way you say it. That's all that matters.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
That's it. That's it, guys. Now, moving on, guys. We've got a lot of winnable games coming up after Brizzy as well. So
we do.
How look, let's face it, it's been a brutal week. The backlash on social media with the supporters, but at the end of the day, in the cold, we've all cooled down. The cold hard light of days. We're 2-3. We win this game against Brizzy. It will be a good win if we get over the line today. And then we're 3-3. And then we've got some winnable games. We can turn this season around. And it's literally confidence. We need to, and I'm going to keep falling back on this, but we need to harden up. We need to go out there and play hard, get that confidence, and then start taking that into every game. So it's not all lost yet, is it, guys?
No, it's definitely not all a loss. And one win will change everything. Attitude will change everything. You're right. You win this game, you're 3-3. You're going into Essendon the week after, is it?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And then massive chance there. All of a sudden, seriously, you win the next two. You're 4-3. We're back on top of the world. We're all going to be strutting around thinking we're going to win the grand final. You know what I mean? But a couple of wins will give them, especially a win today, will give them a huge confidence boost. And that's what the players need. I just believe they need this confidence. They just need to believe. They need to run forward of the ball. They need to have trust in their players. And a win today and a win next week, that's going to go a huge way into us progressing into the season.
Well, playing Essendon the week after Anzac Day is always a good time to get them because
spot on.
That game that they play against Collingwood on Anzac Day is one that usually takes a lot of the energy out of them because it's full on from go to woe usually, and I think the week after that is a good time to try and catch them napping. So I think we can beat Essendon, and we tend to play well against our traditional rivals.
Yep.
Always. I think the week after that we play the Western Bulldogs. Now, they're on top of the ladder. Be a great test to see where we're at. And then the week after that we play Melbourne at the MCG as well. All three of those games are 3:20 p.m. on a Sunday afternoon at the G.
Yeah, and we've got a good record against the Bullies.
For grand final day, there it is.
We're sort of the Achilles heel for the Bullies as well. It's we've got a good recent record against them in upsets. So
we beat them last year by about 50 points.
Can I just say the doggies are our bunny?
Yeah,
Is it?
absolutely.
Can I say that? They're our bunny side. We'll smash
They've
them.
improved,
If you can
but they've
say what,
improved
I
out
think
of
you
sight
can
this
say
year,
bunny.
Rocco. They've improved out of sight this year, mate.
No,
Yeah,
they
they're
are. They
actually-
are. And let's, we need to start making good sides our bunny. We need to, what I love about these conversations this year? We had so much brutality this week in conversations with the Port Adelaide loss. We're so overconfident when we beat sides like the bloody Gold Coast and stuff like that.
Oh,
It's
well,
you know what, guys? It's starting to feel Carlton-y again. Where our expectations are high, and if we don't meet them, we are brutal. We're not accepting it at all. And when we get up and about and confident, and we're talking finals, it's this is Carlton. This is what being a Carlton supporter is. This is what this club is all about. It is that arrogance. It is that expectation. It's that passion. It's all. I think Carlton, out of all the clubs, has all of those things rolled into one big balance better than anyone. Now, Richmond has the passion, but they've also got the Collingwood side of them where they get discount memberships at their local dentist. You got Melbourne. You got Melbourne up in the lardy-dardy rafters. Still acting elitist, even though they've been a failed club for so many decades. But we've got that arrogance and confidence and the desperate expectations on our club and the passion. We've got it all rolled into one. I think this is what makes us the greatest club in the world.
Because we were that, mate. John, we were that. And we all come from that era, man. Like, I only expected one final at a time. That's how I used to live my life when I was a kid, But that's and I can't get out of that. And I think deep inside that's what Carlton is. We are that arrogant side. We are that championship side. We've just gone away from it just a little bit. But that's the side we are, mate. And it doesn't take much for me to walk around with my chest pumped out. I'll tell you now.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's all there. It's just the on-field stuff that's missing now, isn't it? It's just,
that's it. The wins now. We just need wins.
What did you think of the appointment of What did you think of the appointment of John Worsfold as a mentor to David Teague during the week, boys?
Man, I'm gonna.
What message did that send to not only David Teague but to the rest of the Carlton?
It's a terrible message. It's the worst message. It's horrible. I actually feel for Teague. Like, he needs to dig himself out of this hole. He probably needs some better people around him. But didn't they bring Robert Walls in not long ago? And now I know you're wheeling out Robert Walls and sitting him up there in the coach's box. He's probably not doing much. Worsfold's going to have a little bit more of an impact maybe as a consultancy role. But all you hope is that WOOSHA goes in there and just says and watches, sits in the box for a game and hangs around there for 1 or 2 sessions during the week at training and then says, right, okay, I've been here for 7 days now. I sat in your coach's box. I watched how you guys do your training. And you are all a bunch of useless. And get your shit together.
Can I just interrupt you there for a minute?
Yes, Sam Payne.
What we've got to do is actually get our facts right. And the facts are that John Worsfold will not be leaving Western Australia at any stage. No. So you're probably only going to get him in the box when we play Fremantle over there. He's purely there to be contacted by phone or by video call and to give David Teague some input, to field questions from not only Teague but any of his assistants. And I think it's more puff than anything else here. I don't know that there's much sausage in this. It's all sizzle. And
I do believe he'll be a bit fly in, fly out. I do believe he'll be just flying in for the odd session and stuff like that as well. But you couldn't do what they're asking him to do from a video link. But you are right. It'll be a very minimal role, Vince.
I just think that at best what you find is that he might ring up Teague and say, listen, I noticed that you put this player in this position. What did you do that for? What were you hoping to do? I didn't think that worked. Or I think you would have been better off doing this instead. Why don't you try that next time? And maybe even just question Teague on what he's doing and why he's doing it. In other words, challenging his thinking. And Teague said as much in the press conference that Warsaw challenges the way he thinks and the way he makes decisions. So I see it as more of a consultancy role, mentoring role, but from a distance. I don't know that there's going to be a lot of practical input during matches when the heat's on. This afternoon you're not going to see or hear from John Worsfold.
Check out the fan base that Vince has. David Thomason commenting there. Been too long since we saw you in Perth, Vince.
Dave.
He's a rock star, mate. He's a rock star all over Australia. He's Loftus Armour, I tell you. Now, we also got Vince Jason on there. Well said, Rocco. I think of the Arrogance years ago, the finals, the wins, great players, and how I'm hurting instead of losing. It's been a big theme today. But we are going to move forward. We're gonna beat Brizzy. We're going to tame the Lions, and we're going to get back on track. And I'm really looking forward to that. Now, before we go, guys, I've gone a little bit overtime because we started a little bit late today. And gentlemen, you're welcome to jump on here anytime on a Saturday morning. And I really appreciate you guys helping me out today in the absence of Riley, who had a last-minute call-up.
No problem. The invoice is in the mail already.
Well, the nation has spoken. The nation has
spoken like a true Italian there, mate.
I only take cash.
Just cash, mate. Just the cash.
Hey, with all of these Italians, I'm thinking I should be doing a cooking show as well. Have you seen my channel, Cooking with Undies? Have you seen my YouTube channel, Cooking with Undies? It's where I get up. It's where I get up hungover and go straight in the kitchen and just turn it on and cook whatever I feel like cooking's in the fridge. And
I want to see that.
It is a stupid idea, but it's just a bit of fun. Anyway, Cooking with Undies. Okay, guys, seriously. We got to get to it before I switch off. Predictions for today. I'll start with you, Vince.
For Carlton, Brisbane?
No, mate. For the bloody Sydney Flames versus the LA
what I'm asking, you don't want me to do the whole round. It's just our game, right? Yep.
Yes, mate. Just Carlton, Brisbane.
I think it'll be a very close contest for the majority of the game, and I'm tipping Carlton by 9 points. Patrick Cripps' number.
I like it.
I think Cripper will play a blinder.
Oh, let's hope so. Let's hope so. And in the spirit of the Kenny Hunter number 9, let's just hope he is fearless. Fearless.
I love Kenny Hunter.
Oh.
Yeah, Carlton by 9 points.
Carlton by 9. What about you, Rocco?
Listen, I always think we're going to win. I am the biggest sucker in the world, right? Like, it doesn't matter how bad, who's out, who's in. I think we're going to win, So we're going to go out there today and we're going to do what we did to them 2 years ago. We're going to smash them. I reckon 36 points, the Blues. Come on, the Blues. Let's do it, mate. Let's do it today.
That's I like that. Now, I think Carlton by under a goal. I just think we're breaking hearts. It's what we do. We make it tough for supporters, the Mighty Blues, and I'll just say any score under a goal.
How about a goal after the siren?
Well, the only question there is, will it be a new set shot from the boundary tripping over electrical cords, or will it be the veteran, the sidestep, the banana?
Yes, I like it. Yes, I like it. I reckon Cribber from 40 hours going to kick it after the siren. Imagine that. How would your heart be if Cripper's taking a shot after the siren, 30 metres out?
I fucking hope it's not, because I'm 48 years old. I've just been vaccinated, and I'm feeling like I'm susceptible to clotting. So I don't want to see Cripper taking that final shot after the siren. What I want to see is Liam Stocker giving the dusty fend off out of a pack, running to the 50 and kicking it from 52 metres out, sailing through the middle, and then the siren goes, bah! And we won by 2 points. Oh, give me my Stocker moment.
we'll be ready for the grand. If we do that, man, I'm telling you, we're going to be up and about, mate. We're going to be ready to win that grand final, mate. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it, fellas.
Absolutely. Now, before I go, big thank you to Warren Jones. Wasn't he fantastic today? Vince, yourself, Rocco, guys, thanks for coming on and supporting me. This is Carlton. If you guys ever need me to jump on and annoy your show, Rocco, I'm there for you as well. Vince, I can't wait to see you when you're back in Perth again, mate. Let's get on it when you do, and have a really good night. And go the mighty fucking Blues.
Go the Blue Boys.
Come on, let's smash the Lions.
Let's smash them.
Let's get them.